Good evening. I am so very grateful for everything that Plainfield is doing. At Sunday's roundtable, I loved how Mary explained to keep our focus always on God. What amazing teachers we have here in Mary and in Florence and Gary and others. Sunday's roundtable reminded me of an experience I had many years ago. I was struggling without home and without even food to eat. I had only 2 little eggs as food that would need to last me for 3 days until my paycheck came through from my employer at that time. I asked our wonderful practitioner here in Australia for supporting prayer. I was very new to Christian Science, not even a member at that time, but I loved Mrs. Eddy's writings very much, even back then. And this drew me to ask this practitioner for help, for he so perfectly embodied all that I had read of Mrs. Eddy's teachings. He gave me hymn 75 to work with. God comes with succour speedy to those who suffer wrong, to help the poor and needy, and bid the weak be strong. Well, this was just music to my heart at that time. He told me to cook up my last eggs and have a nice dinner, to thank God for all the good he had done for me, and to trust God's disposal of events. The instruction he gave was accompanied by a sense of spiritual power that I had never felt before, not from my Christian upbringing, nor from any practitioner that I knew here. I went to sleep that night praying with this lovely hymn and feeling an extraordinary sense of peace and comfort. I woke very early and very buoyant the next morning with the idea to get into work early and nibble on the break room biscuits for my breakfast. But I met a very different situation. A colleague at work had somehow gleaned my need and mentioned it to her friend who worked with a local charity. Well, this charity reached out to me and gave me enough food stamps to feed me for 2 whole weeks. I couldn't believe it. I cried heartily about that and immediately rang this wonderful practitioner and told him that God had provided manna for my day, just like he had said, and not just manna for 1 day, but 14 days. Right before my eyes, my need was met through those loving people who cut through all the red tape that would have delayed those food stamps. The biggest red tape would have been my own ego, because I never would have ever asked a charity for help, even though I sorely did need help. Yet, with a pure Christian Science practitioner at the back of thought, just like that, in the blink of an eye, my need was met. This wonderful practitioner, who has since passed on or graduated, as I like to think of it, he taught me so much, and he taught so many. But for me, this was the first time my prayer had been answered so immediately and so perfectly. And the difference was that I had been shown how to focus all my thought on God, not on the problem that I was supposedly suffering with. I had been taught how to apply pure Christian Science as taught by our dear leader, Mary Baker Eddy. Now, I have not found that pure teaching, no, not anywhere else, other than here at Plainfield Independent. All of this learning is the same unmistakable, pure Christian Science that I was taught here in Australia by this wonderful practitioner who stood for God and for Mrs. Eddy. I could fill a book with all the prayer that has since been answered from that time, all those years ago to today. But I will never forget that first lesson on the truth of being and to trust God's disposal of events. Here at Plainfield Independent, we have that pure Christian science being taught and practiced. Thank you all so very much, and so much love to you.